Here's the thing, writing stuff down, it's kind of like a superpower. Science backs it up too. People who track their progress are 42% more likely to smash their goals. Just putting pen to paper can boost productivity by 33%, and get this, journaling actually improves memory by up to 50%. If you're tracking habits, whether it's hitting the gym, eating better, or just drinking more water, you're way more likely to stay consistent. It's like having a personal coach, but instead of it yelling at you, it just sits there looking classy on your desk. But here's where it gets even crazier. Writing things down doesn't just help you get stuff done, it actually makes you feel better. Journaling has been linked to a 30% drop in anxiety and depression, better immune function, even fewer doctor visits. Seeing your progress on paper, that's like a cheat code for motivation. It keeps you accountable, focused, fired up. So whether it's a to-do list, deep thoughts, or just random doodles of your next big idea, grabbing a notebook might just be the easiest way to level up your life. It's science. What's up, everybody? Peter McKinnon here. Welcome back to yet another video. Now, notebooks and filling in logs and habit trackers and all things pertaining to this world has become a staple part of my everyday life. It's more than routine. It's ingrained into the fibers of my being now. I wake up, I make coffee, I sit down with it, usually somewhere quiet if I can, and I'll just start writing. And there's a multitude of things that I'll write. Over the last few years, I've documented my journey in trying to get into journaling and then becoming a fan of it and how I still use it. And this is kind of like the culmination of all of these years to the point now where I can confidently say it has changed my life for the better. It is absolutely part of my routine, and I would never not make it part of my routine because the changes in how it's implemented different things into my life and improved it, it's not worth going back. So today in this video, I want to dive into several things. From how habit tracking has absolutely changed the game, my fitness and my mental state, how continuing to journal has made me more creative, how I've actually improved my handwriting considerably, my favorite pens, the notebooks that I prefer to use, big and small, how I tackle this when I'm on the road, travel a lot, do I still journal or write in a notebook when I'm on the road, the accessories that I use to keep all of this stuff in and organized. And trust me, I have tried many, and many of them suck. I've found a few that are very good, simple as best. These are actually systems and implementations that can 100% change your life forever. And I know that, and I can say that because it did mine. I always have two notebooks going at all times. Big notebook, little notebook. The little one is more of like a mobile on the go. Back pocket, hoodie pocket, camera bag. I toss this thing literally anywhere. This, I don't care about it. It is merely a tool to get the job done. This big boy here, I care about how neat and organized the pages are, and I use this specifically for habit tracking. So let's go over the brand of notebooks. This is my favorite brand of large notebooks. It's like a Moleskine, but I find it to be a little bit better quality. It's soft cover, it's got the elastic closure, the paper is perfect. It's super thick, creamy, soft, great for fountain pens. The GSM count, or whatever you call it. GM, 80 GM. I don't know what that means. I don't even think I can pronounce the brand. Luke term? It's German. If you don't like soft cover, you can also get them in hardcover. They're actually a little bit thicker, so I don't like the hardcover ones because I want the thinner notebook. Because after you start using this, filling it up with stuff and writing in it constantly, it will double in size. I like taping stuff in, like drawings from my kids that I can look back on, and I'll even stick photos in here. That's stuck at an airport trying to memorize a deck of cards. A nice letter from someone written on a typewriter. But the satisfaction when a full book like this is done, practicing my cursive. I remember one day I heard someone say, perfect is boring, you don't want to do that. I wrote that down like 100 times on this page like a psycho. A little fun thing about these ones too, at the back they have like a little folder. Here's the picture when I could see the northern lights from my backyard. Here's a little playing card I found. That was my food credit when I was shooting the Kaleo show at Red Rocks. You know, you're pasting stuff in there, letters that people sent you. You start to kind of just get attached to it, and then you don't want to mess it up. This was January 19th when they banned TikTok and then unbanned it like a few hours later. That's funny. I always like to put a start date and an end date, and then the total of days it took me to finish this notebook. This took 96 days to finish. They also make small versions of these if you're not a big notebook person at all, but I feel like by the end of this video, you'll want the A5 size and you'll want a field note size. Now the field notes come in 3 packs. I usually fill up about 1 field notes a month. If I'm really ripping, I can do 1.5 a month, but that's just kind of a lot of unnecessary writing. And the whole goal here is to not make it not fun. It's to make a system here that improves your life and that you get used to. I should also say, this isn't something that I just make myself do. I enjoy doing this. Like, my favorite part of the day is usually having coffee in the morning, first thing, and writing in my notebooks. It's also without saying, as the day progresses and I check back into to-do lists and scratch things off, I get immense satisfaction out of that as well. So the notebook's role throughout my day is always very enjoyable, and it was always my plan and goal to keep it that way. I think the second something becomes a chore or a bit of a grind, it's not fun. Things start off that way, but once you pass the hump, that's when like things start to open up, like they unlock, I guess you could say. Look at fitness, for example. I hate working out. It sucks. I cannot get into it. I don't get excited. I don't like it. And that's because I haven't given it enough consistency to get to the point where I have unlocked it and gotten over that hump. Running was the same. At the beginning, it was hard. It wasn't something that I enjoyed doing, but I continued doing it. I passed that hump, I unlocked it, and now I'll find myself sitting in the studio or doing something somewhere and just thinking, I would rather be running right now. And that is mind-blowing for Peter McKinnon. Who would have thought? November kilometers, I had 5 runs, a total of 28 kilometers. In December, I had 1 run, a total of 5 kilometers. In January, I was like, nah, that. I want to fill more of that back page. That's the game it became. I want the satisfaction of seeing more than half that page filled with runs from just 1 month. January total, 124 kilometers. That's missing 5 runs too. That gets me fired up for February. Now I want to see the whole page full of runs. That's crossing the hump. I've unlocked it. It did take that certain amount of time to form that habit, but once that habit's there, it's now an enjoyable part of the process. I've got ADHD. It's undiagnosed, but it's by God, there. When I have a simple task, it takes me at least 10 other tasks to get back to the original task. I'm so unbelievably sidetracked. So these types of tools that I've made staples, they help calm the storm that's up here, and that's invaluable for someone like me. I'm sure if you're watching this, it's someone like you. I shouldn't have done it that way. Now it's all disorganized. These are my favorite pens. We could probably end the segment right there. This is a .38 fine point. I love fine point. It's sharp, it's crisp, you have more control over the pen. When you're writing stuff in a book, you can write way neater than you think you probably can. If you're one of those people that thinks, I have horrible writing, it's chicken scratch, I promise if you just spend some time, make an effort and use a fine point, like a .38, you will have nicer writing than even you imagine. Guaranteed. If it still sucks, I can't help you. Like, when's the last time you finished a pen from full to empty? You think finishing a notebook is satisfying? Finishing a pen. Now I have those in like all different colors. So turquoise, royal blue, green, red, even purple if I want to get wild. I think highlighting and underlining certain things makes a huge difference when I'm writing notes. If a quote that I don't want to forget is written in red amongst an entire page of black text, it stands out. So I like using different colors to accent and highlight different parts of my story, different parts of my journal, or different parts of my video planning to really emphasize different points so I don't forget them. I have a marker for that too. But this isn't just any ordinary marker. This is a Japanese brush marker. It's kind of like a calligraphy pen where as you press harder on like an upstroke or a downstroke, you're gonna get a different thickness from this marker. And the same thing, if I want to emphasize a point or a quote, or if I want to fill in a progress tracker. Sometimes I like doing little graphs, and I'll show you how I do that soon. I like using red, green, and yellow to show no progress, some progress, good progress. 2 absolute favorites here, micron pens. Now we're talking fine point. These are the finest of points. If you press even remotely too hard, marker's trashed. It's done. I wish I could just show you how, like, I can barely see it with my own eyes, right? There's no chance. Fountain pens. These are two of my favorites that are very affordable. The Lamy Safari is like 30, 40 bucks or something. And then this is the TWSBI fountain pen. And I think this is around the same, probably like 50, 60 bucks. Maybe this is a little more expensive. And I gotta be honest, I've had fountain pens my whole life. I've been collecting them. I mean, back in the day, I've got Mont Blanc pens here. I remember in my everyday carry video a few weeks ago, some people were like, you should buy a Mont Blanc pen, and I have some. I have the classic 149, which is arguably like the most popular Mont Blanc fountain pen to ever exist. It's like a big cigar when you're holding it, but I've also got a calligraphy version of this same pen, and I keep them in this little special leather pouch. I'm super nostalgic, and I romanticize the idea of like my son finding these at my old desk one day. Dad's pens, sick, I'm gonna pawn them. Here's the thing, this like $50 pen feels just as good and in some instances smoother than like these luxury Mont Blanc, like prestige. Oh, excuse me, sir. Might I have your signature? Would you like it? If I could just give you the most beautiful penmanship. This is just as good. Amazon, like 50 bucks. If you're looking to get into fountain pens or you want to try your hand at calligraphy or like having better handwriting, this is what I would do. I would get one of these. I wouldn't even bother with this. This is if you just stick with it and like 5 years down the road, you're like, nah, I want like, I'm going to a wedding and I don't know. Maybe you never need these. I can't even think of a reason why you would need them other than just like absolutely blowing money. Of the two, TWSBI's my favorite. This is a little too harsh and sharp for me. Get a TWSBI pen. You'll be absolutely stoked. Mechanical pencil, I never use it. Okay, let's talk accessories. Pencil cases. This is just a cheap $15, $20 pencil case I got on Amazon. It is exactly what it is. I got it and was kind of just like, meh. I'm big into aesthetic and I'm big into like a very specific aesthetic, and this just wasn't hitting it for me. So I did some searching around the internet and I came up, it's a little more costly, I apologize. This company called Peg and All, and they have this thing called the Sendak. Now, its biggest sin is that it has this monstrosity of a leather patch riveted to the front with their name and logo and what they call this thing. Entirely unnecessary. I would have paid more to not have this abomination. I get that you want to brand things, but like, that's what the tip of your belt is for. Get your buckles made where it's engraved into the buckle. There's a million ways to do this better. Had it just been a little engraving, it's just a tiny rivet. Engraved on the rivet is a peg and an awl. Just to go on a little rant here, I would say 9 times out of 10, the biggest transgression that companies or cool brands make is their logos are too freaking big. Everyone wants to just plaster the name or the logo. I want it to be the whole thing. Look at the real estate. And now we're here. Okay, now we can open it up. Strap is great, buckle is great, waxed canvas is great. Just mere months, this thing's gonna look incredible. And inside, you've got like room for everything. What's nice is it fits the notebooks too. You've got a zipper pouch here, pencil sharpener, eraser, some tiny post-it notes. You've got interior pockets, 1, 2, 3, 4. Two of them, which fit a field notes like a glove. Yep, that's money. Fold this thing down. In the back, there's 2 huge pockets, and that fits the giant notebook perfectly. Fold this over, fold that over again, do up your leather strap, and it fits everything in like a perfect just little bundle. If I'm going to a coffee shop, I want to work outside in the cafe here, I can just grab this, it's all there. If I'm going to work or I'm going home for the weekend and I don't want to bring any of my stuff, I'll just bring this and I'll just walk to my truck like this and just toss it on my front seat. It's perfect. And everything's inside, opens up nice and easy. All my stuff's there. I might only use this, bust this out, and I just piece that off, write what I need to, put it back in. Bob's your uncle, Fran's your aunt. We're laughing, we're making moves, bud. What do you think of that, eh? Ready to just hit the lick boat for a quick 2-4. We all know there ain't enough juice in it, Mickey. You wanna go for a rip there, bud? It's expensive, I'm not sponsored. I paid for this. It's probably too much for what they're asking, but it is beautiful and I do love it. And that brings me to the sponsor of today's episode. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform. It makes it super easy to build a website if you built websites with a keyboard. So many beautiful templates to choose from, 24-hour customer service. So if you get stuck, like if that was hard for you, based on how easy it is, you could contact them and they would help you very, very fast. You should have a website. It's crazy to think about. You have a phone, you're doing phone things, sitting there at night, just scrolling away. Scroll onto your website. Maybe someone could be scrolling yours, buying things. Squarespace have implemented shopping. You can use Squarespace payments. Why do I have this done up? There's all kinds of fancy new neural AI that Squarespace can customize your website, is to just really just dive in and just uncover all the layers of you, to give you the most personal, exclusive, customized. It's really an experience. You can save yourself 10% off by using code McKinnon at checkout. You've got no excuse. You should pause and just do it. Your website could just say LOL. That's fine. It could just be a picture of me. That's also fine. Use the link in the bio, sign up. Thanks for letting me do this. I appreciate it. Okay, I'll let you go back. I'll let you go back into your thing. That was for you. Figured I'd bring him back. Yeah, he's been waiting long enough. Now, when we're talking habit trackers, it took several months of making these to really start to identify different patterns within my life. I wanted to see how much alcohol was being consumed, what my weight was every single day. Was I drinking water every day? Was I drinking coffee every day? Was I spending money that day? And when you go back through one of these habit trackers and you just look at all the months that you've marked down for these different categories, you're shocked at how much or how little some of them can be. When you look at the fact that, man, I didn't drink a full bottle of water for 18 days in a row, but I hit coffee at least every single day, it really holds you accountable and it puts that data right into your face. And the fact that you are manually inputting it, not relying on an app to input it, it makes it stick. Then it becomes a game. Then you want to update it. You want to see that habit tracker grow. You want to see it filled out. Here is a little explanation on how I set up one of my habit trackers. A blank notebook, ready to go. I never use the first page, so I would probably start it here. You are going to need a ruler. The rough idea is a graph down the side where I like to track all the individual habits. And then I like to do a graph down this side sideways, tracking all my sleep. Sometimes what I like to do is correspond it with something on this left page. 31 days, kind of like a story of the day. So now you've got your numbers going all the way down the left side. These numbers will also affect what's on this side of the page. I like graph paper for this very reason. And you're gonna go all the way down. I don't have a ruler that's long enough, but you'll get the idea. Run down every line for however many categories of things you want to track. Okay, perfect. Tap those off. But now, when you look across, the 31st is this box. The 30th is here, so on and so forth. Now you gotta make your grid all the way up. It's safe to say too, when I actually do this and I'm setting it up for myself, I take way more time to not go through the lines because that kind of stuff drives me crazy and those little details matter to me. You have your grid. Now we're gonna write down our categories for what we're going to track. Let's track coffee, water, sugar, alcohol, a workout, a run. Let's do weight. And last but not least, money spent. Now we're gonna go into the sleep graph, which I like to put here. I'll draw the number of boxes for however many hours I want to track. So let's say 10 hours of sleep. This is the graph we're building. 10 hours of sleep. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, and 3. Each of these days is also the same as all of these days. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the idea is to fill this in every single day for the month while you're using it. So we can write at the top here, daily tracker. This is an example of what I would do if I woke up and it's the first. I would write down on this page one thing that's memorable that I did this day. Made a video about notebooks. And then on this side, I would mark down, did I have coffee today? I did drink water. Do you have sugar? No. Alcohol? No. Did you work out? No. Did you go for a run? Yes. Whatever your weight is, let's just write X. Yes, I spent money today. I bought 2 extra memory cards because I keep losing my SDs. Then I'd come down here and I slept 8 hours last night and I just draw a dot. And that's it, that's your day. Now you just move on, you write your entries, you write your notes, you do whatever you're gonna do. Tomorrow, you're gonna come back and you're gonna make another entry. The same with like, let's say, oh, I slept 5 hours last night. 7 hours, 10 hours, because that's insane. 6 hours of sleep, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep. Up here was 9 hours of sleep. And then when you connect the dots, so So what does that tell me right away? That my sleep is absolutely erratic. It's all over the place. There is absolutely no pattern. So you can really average out at the end of the month after seeing this visually. And I know there's apps that do this, but there's something satisfying about filling it out yourself. You can see your patterns of spending money, how many days you had sugar, and you can just see this at a glance. And you can go over to this side and see a little snapshot at what happened that day. On the 15th, you hung out in San Diego at Jane's Coffee, and you absolutely had coffee that day. It's just such a good snapshot system at being able to identify patterns, see what you're good at, see what you're bad at, and it's fun. As it starts to fill out, it looks insane. And then I make one of these for every single month. But that is essentially how I fill them out. If you don't want to do the full month, you could do 10 days. Here is a small version that I did in a Field Notes book. That graph at the bottom is kind of cool because it shows how much social media I did, how much photography I did. It gives me a good snapshot. Not much happened with pirate life. And I used this one because I was on the move going to Iceland. You throw one of the bookmarks in it, and then this goes for your normal entries. And you, my friend, are good to go. The way I treat these two books when it really comes down to it, because I understand the notion of carrying two notebooks or using two notebooks can be kind of like, well, what do I choose goes in one versus the other? This one I focus more on aesthetic. This one is just practical. I don't care, I care. But together, it's the full picture. Now, recently, I have been told by some of my friends who are big into tech that I would like an e-ink reader. Remarkable, I think, makes something that's like a digital notebook. I'm interested in trying that, and maybe there's a version 4 of this video where we dive into doing this exact same practice, but on a digital e-ink notepad. I'm not even sure what that means, but they say it feels like paper, but I would just rather write on paper. So maybe that's the 4th video. Compiling all of these things into one digital e-ink reader. Sounds kind of exhausting. So that concludes my thoughts, my processes on using notebooks, tracking your habits, setting goals, and mostly building routines, sticking with something long enough until it's unlocked to the point where it becomes a very fabric of your being. You cannot exist without it. It is just what you do. You never miss. It is now who you are. And I can honestly say after all these years of making all these notebook videos, this is who I am. I'm a bit of a nerd at heart. I love stationery. I love writing. I love using notebooks, and they make my life better. And I implore you to give it a shot. Once you fill one, it's easier to fill two. But so many people, and I've heard this so many times, they get a fresh pack of Field Notes. You crack open that first page, you write in your details. I put a little pirate stamp on mine. You sit there and you're like, what do I even say? What do I even write? What do I do with this? And there's so many, it's so overwhelming, just a full blank book. I absolutely agree. It's overwhelming. But once you finish that first book, then you want the second, then you want the third. Then it actually just becomes easy. Then a few months into the year, you're just crushing books. I think what I like about Field Notes as well is the fact that they do theme the books. So every month they're coming out with new ones. It makes it easy to keep track of, and it kind of keeps it fresh and exciting. It's not just like the same black notebook over and over and over and over and over and over. This is just a little bit more fun. A little side note too, just if you're kind of like a nostalgic person, they are so much fun to look back on and to just read what your mindset was that day, or even read some of the issues you were having that day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, and you read something and it's an issue that you're having and it's exactly the same as the current month's issue you're having. You can say to yourself, how am I having the same problem for 10 months? What am I doing that's persisting? You've got the data right here. So not only is it nostalgic, but it's like, it's very helpful and informative to go back and track all of these things. Not to mention, it just looks sick on your shelf. You just have a huge, huge library or archive of notebooks. And the reason I wanted to make this video early on in 2025 is so that you had all the rest of the months to try this out and see if it's something that you can make stick, because I promise you it makes a difference. And if you're anything like me and your brain is like a fireworks show and you can't focus on anything and one task turns into a million tasks, you have too many things to do so you end up doing none of them, you don't use a calendar, you don't check your texts, things just get out of control, the notebook can really be the calm in the storm. Oh, you fucking hurt my ears, dude. I've had this on 5 minutes and I've got like a pressure headache behind my skull. How do you wear these all day? Do you have indentations back there? Like, is it like your foot in a boot? Do they just go on and like hunk? They just sink into the divot that's in the back of your skull. Just thunk. I'm just asking as a non-glasses guy. Like, I don't know. Oh, it's awful. It's awful. I'd never get LASIK though. Fuck that. I just deal with this.